So I heard this woman, that color, she made the comment that a lot of millionaires and billionaires don't tell their sons and daughters to pick up a trade. They send them to college. They send them to school. They don't tell them to pick up a trade. And I guess she was equating this with the amount of money that people of trades make. You know, a neuroscientist making X amount versus somebody that is a basic plumber or poolman like myself. You've got to do the research before you make these comments. You've got to do the research on how we got to this quote unquote associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. This was all in the name of higher education, colonialism, European. And these things are the staples of any society. They call it higher education in the college setting. In the blue collar setting, we call them apprenticeships. I'm a blue collar man, but I came from the white collar world, finance, business, Ford Motor Credit, going to school for all those things, psychology, theology. That's white collar work right there. And I, by the grace of God, happened to fall into becoming a blue collar worker because it paid much more money at that time and possibly now than, say, if I went to go get a bachelor's degree in psychology. It paid much more, and I did the math, and I immediately got out of school. So would I actually tell my children to go to school? I agree wholeheartedly. If I wanted to get to a higher level of education other than owning a pool business, quote unquote, owning a pool business, I'm going to say that for the people in the back. If I want to get into higher education, if I wanted to go higher, such as working for the major casinos, working in that field, yes, by all means, I would go back to school and get that engineering degree. Yes, I would. You know, and what would the pay look like? Because I've already explored both options. What would the pay look like? You know, instead of me running around all day, servicing residential clients, the workload would be different. I, of course, would be on call at all times as an engineer, working for the Wynn Casino, Pay scale is different, even on just the service level, because I got offered a job working at one of the casinos. And at that time, the salary was $150,000 a year. $150,000 a year. Now, keep this in mind. You know, after Uncle Sam comes in and does his thing, and insurance is okay, so Sam making about $100,000 a year. Always being on call, because that was the stipulation. Hey, you sleep with this phone on you, You know, and the reason why I did not take that job was because I was already making much more money doing what I was doing by being an owner and operator and running guys at that time. I think it was 3 or 4 guys at the time. I was already exceeding that salary, doubling it or more. So I would have to have taken a couple steps backwards. Now, I'm not going to say it wouldn't have been worth it, because I believe it would have. It would have opened up another door. Would my children, would I encourage them to go to school? 100%. And I'm not going to say however or but, and at the same time, they're going to know about trade work. They're going to know about how to rip these pumps out, and how higher education, as far as becoming an engineer, how that applies to higher education. And if they should choose to take it a step further, by all means. But at least they have the basic working knowledge that my trade afforded them. You know, if you wanted to be an electrician, you know, you go to trade school. But there is, keep in mind, trade school at the apprenticeship level is a stepping stone. Is a stepping stone. The higher you step up, you get more and more educated. And that comes with getting degreed, getting recognized. At the beginning, if you do the research on how we got to all these degree programs, it was so that if I had a master's in a certain field, I would be able to teach within that field and raise up other people that don't have a quote unquote master's. This at the core level is what it was all about. You know, if you had a doctorate in a certain amount of sciences, you know, you of course would be taught by somebody that was higher than you, and they would bring you up to that level, and then you would get your accreditation, or you would get your recognition, and it would allow you to teach, and of course within that institution, and bring others up. But guys, don't ever frown upon the trades. Our very president-elect Donald Trump, if you do the research on his grandfather, started off cutting hair. If I'm not mistaken, and if I am, guys, let me know. In the Jewish culture, not only were the guys taught to go seek higher education, but back then they also had to learn a trade. They had to. It's imperative. So that for some reason, if that higher education could not afford them a job, they can fall back and continue to make money off that trade. So it's almost like the chicken or the egg, guys. It's almost like the chicken or the egg. Trade school or go get a degree. I am saying that you should do both. At 48 years old, I do not have the luxury of time. But if somebody came and wanted to invest in me and say, hey, we have this position and you can work within here, but here's an agreement and we'll pay for the completion, and you work for our organization, wholeheartedly. When I was in college, when I was attending Liberty University, facts, I held a 4.0 grade point average. Held it. Same thing when I was going to school for business at DeVry. So because you guys see me in the trades now, it doesn't mean I was dumb up here. I just made a better financial decision at that time, which was going back to 2008, to leave the finance world, get my CDL license before it became fashionable. Before everybody and their grandmama jumped on it, I was already offered an opportunity to drive for DS Waters. That's what we know today. And at that time, salary was around $45,000-$50,000 a year, full benefits, vacation, and we're going all the way back to 2008. So that says something back then. If I were to have gotten a bachelor's degree in psychology, that only would have afforded me at that time in Las Vegas social work. And I think the salary was anywhere between $9 an hour and $12. I did the math. I said, I'm paying for all this money for school, and by the time I get out of this prestigious university, my salary can't even afford to pay for the education that I received. I did the math. I did the knowledge. Right here, guys. Right up here. It don't take me long to do math. And you know what? I turned out fine. If somebody told me today, hey, give up your pool business, come learn to chase these storms, and you be a meteorologist, and man, I do it in a heart attack. I go down to Oklahoma City, go to the prestigious Weather University and learn about meteorologists and apply that so that I could be your local weatherman on TV. But it wouldn't even start out like that. I wouldn't even make it to anchorman level yet. I would make it in the field, you know, when hurricane so-and-so is about to blow me over and lightning is striking behind me. Even there's a stepping stone to that once you get that degree. You still don't start off at the top. You still start off at the base level. And the higher you want to go, it depends on what you know and who you know. So keep all this in mind, guys, when you hear the trade talk versus going to school talk. I am a fan of both. I'm a fan of always seeking higher education the higher you want to go. Hope this has answered everybody's questions. Peace.